I ended up getting a really good book deal because I got a lot of tips from Irvin Welsh in the Crowbar. I took Irvin Welsh to the Crowbar, and he gave me all these things, and I had these notes written on all sorts of shit, like really bad toilet paper and stuff, and it was all stuff that he told me, and I did everything he told me, and I managed to get a really good book deal. But then with a good book deal on the biggest publisher in the world, they just wanted to do everything. They wanted to do it all. So you had to fight, say, no, fuck you, I'm going to write this story, you know?
It would have been a crime if the world didn't hear the story. This film is phenomenal.
Special guest episode.
What a treat we have in store for you. We have an incredible guest this week, Gavin Bain, otherwise known as Brains, from the hip-hop band Silibil and Brains, which is the premise of the new movie directed by James McAvoy, out now, California Schemin'. We all love this film, of which there is also an amazing documentary on Netflix called The Great Hip Hop Hoax, about the incredible journey of these guys. This is a story of two Scottish hip hop rappers not being able to make it in the industry because of their accents. So they make up new personas, pretend they're from California, and become a sensation. This is now a cult story, which has been written by Gavin Bain himself. We go deep in this conversation about the infamous and unbelievable adventure behind the scenes of the movie, what really happened, and the obstacles he faced in his life in making this project come to fruition. We had a blast with Gavin. He's a great hang, full of amusing anecdotes, authentic storytelling, which is a testament to his resilience and creativity and unwavering honesty through some difficult situations. We know you're going to love this episode. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Ragewell, guys. Today we have a really special guest. Me and Drew specifically just went to the cinema very recently to watch a film, California Schemin', and it is about the life and trials and tribulations and chaos of Gavin Bain, otherwise known as Brains, from Silibil and Brains back in the early 2000s. And we've got Gav, aka Brains, with us today. How you doing, man?
I'm very good. Can you guys hear me all well?
Spot on.
Yeah, I'm just concerned you might be able to hear a child screaming outside my window, so I'm going to go and shut that before the police are notified. Give me 2 moments.
That's always got a good start. Yeah, James keeps a child screaming in the other room. Obviously, we just watched the film and we're blown away by it, and we started doing research into it, and we found out about the Great Hip Hop Hoax on Netflix, and we've been watching that as well. And it's such, genuinely, mate, it's fascinating. Like, I don't know how you're still alive. Some of the stories that's in that, like, how was your experience?
A highly edited down version. It's the very censored version. That's the stuff that can get played on BBC.
That's crazy.
That's kind of what I thought, yeah.
Did you get the final cut version of the documentary, or was that like...
I saw different versions. I saw an original version. I saw the one for cinema, and then there was a one. Then it had to be shortened and censored a little bit for BBC. They still managed to get my penis on the BBC, so I don't know how that worked.
Hey man, you made an impact there.
I hope you made an impact.
A very small impact.
In that documentary. Not many people can say their cock was in that documentary, though. So,
brilliant.
These things you can take to the grave with you, know.
We were chatting before we came on as well that obviously, not that many people can tell that, but I'm Scottish as well, and obviously you're from up near like Arbroath and stuff. But you're originally from South Africa.
Yeah, I was born in South Africa, and I lived there until 14. So, and then I kind of got ripped out of a beautifully developing kind of country that was kind of going through a revolution, and ended up in a freezing hellhole called Motherwell, which you know very well.
Yeah.
Slight change of climate.
Well, that's what we're
Yeah.
saying. Motherwell is where my dad's from. My dad was born in Motherwell. All my family on my dad's side are in Motherwell, and then moved around like Hamilton and near places and stuff like that. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean. One of my mates is the other way around. He was born in Liverpool, and he moved to South Africa as a baby, and he grew up in South Africa. So he's got a strong South African accent, and now he's living in London. The interesting bit about your film, mate, is that there's so much going on. Like, what role did you play in the actual James McAvoy film?
So when COVID happened, by the point we got to COVID, I had received so many bad scripts from very good writers over the years. The first person who I worked with was Irvin Welsh, and that wasn't a bad script. It just wasn't the right time.
Wow.
And that project just couldn't get off the ground. It was complicated because the documentary was coming along at the same time, and so there was two films, pitching to kind of similar worlds. So it wasn't the right time for Irvin, although he was a massive help for me because that's when I started writing the book. So he was the first person that read drafts of the book, and he was just like really instrumental in my kind of writing career. Because he was my I was his biggest fan at that time, but then it kind of so it got off to a flyer, but then over the years it was just there was so many, when like some of your favorite writers submit scripts and then they just read like your old drunk uncle trying to tell a story, just really corny, not cool. And then there was some kind of big companies offering really bad contracts and really bad situations. So it took a lot of telling certain big companies to get lost, just so that I could kind of be happy with the voice. And I don't know about the credibility, but it's just very difficult if you aren't a skateboarder and you weren't in hip hop and you don't understand how young people talk to each other. It's kind of gross when someone comes on board and goes, "Hey, I can tell this really cool story about these two young kids." It was all reading like that. It was all like, wow, this is going to be so bad if I don't get this in the right hands. And eventually by COVID, I just decided that I would have a pop at it myself. At that point, I'd been kind of screenwriting for a bit. I'd been testing out on different projects. So I had the confidence to kind of put something down. And that was I then met the guys from Homefront, and then we did that deal, which had that script sold into it. And from that point, then the good thing about that script is that it had our voice, it had the color, it had scenes that are kind of like the big scenes from the book. It kind of showed in a cool way how all went down, like the color and the vibe was there. And then, it was still an absolute nightmare trying to get this thing made. 15 years of walking into boardrooms with, just people who are not really into the culture, who don't really get it, but they want to buy the IP off you and they want to kind of ask you to just get out the door, like give us this and F off type thing. So yeah, it was disheartening for so many years. And then once we got in and we kind of picked this Scottish team, it was still really hard because it was still so hard to get people to believe in the story. And then, magically, I was so close to leaving the project because it had kind of run its period of time out. And there was also other really cool things on the table as well. And then just on the very last day, James McAvoy, the guys from Homefront, Danny, were like, hold on, wait a sec. James McAvoy's going to do it, and I was like, nah, come on, let's be serious here. That's not going to happen. And then a person who was shared an agent with him sent me a message congratulating me. So I was like, oh my God, this is actually going to happen. And then from 6 months to a year after that, they had a film made, and it was was a hell of a roller coaster to see how fast and how much work and how much teamwork and just how much guts and just horrific kind of like determination like went into getting that film across the line, you know.
That's
It was
insane.
quite
But
something.
again, it's good to have James McAvoy, like again, like same even with Irvin, but like having someone Scottish there that wants to tell the story and can tell through a Scottish lens, like how things are up there, and especially back then, like it was very grey, wasn't it? Like especially in those small
Yeah.
places, Glasgow wasn't that exciting back then.
Yeah, and listen, as Scots, like we love Scotland, but you know, if you grow up in schemes, if you grow up with young teams on every corner, if you grow up experiencing Scotland, you love it for a different reason later in your life. You love it because you survived it.
Yeah,
You survived, you know what I mean? Like you survived all the kind of the pull towards drugs or like, I mean, drugs at a really young age, or you survived like the really rough fights and the near death experiences, and you know you survive it, but then you come out with this kind of like a different type of you know humble kind of introspective appreciation for for life because you have survived it, and it makes you a little bit stronger and makes you a little bit more thick-skinned. You know, there's something about the Scots that I know in London and whether in music or in film, when we get told to get lost, it doesn't mean anything to. We're like, yeah, whatever. Like we don't care. We just keep going. It's not really about. It's like this is just a laugh for us anyway. If we get one little thing going, it's all good. You know, we're happy. We don't expect much, is what I mean. You know, and
there's
so
like
then I think
built-in
that
determination, isn't there?
yeah, and then that kind of mentality just allows you to enjoy like whatever you do get, and then once you get a little bit, you kind of push on a little further, and you're like, why not? Why not? Why can't we just take it all the way? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Just a quick message to thank you all for listening to our show, whether it's through Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. If you are enjoying, why not follow, click to subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. Also, a reminder to follow us on Instagram and TikTok for fun clips from the show. We love and appreciate your support, and thanks for sharing us with friends. This helps us to grow, improve, and continue creating. Now, back to the conversation.
Well, I was going to say, they shot Scotland beautifully, because we were always saying that in movies, like Scotland doesn't always come across as the nicest looking place, especially with films like Trainspotting and such and such.
Yeah, city-wise, yeah.
It looked gorgeous, and I loved that kind of amazing graffiti of I can't remember the name of the character now from Trainspotting, but it was Ewan McGregor's character.
In the toilet.
Yeah, and the best scene in the world in that film as well, with the Scotland's world's worst toilet or something.
Yeah. Oh well, the graffiti said it shite being Scottish.
Like, and he's literally he's coming out of a toilet, which is a great analogy for the fact that it's like trying to get out of the shit that is that situation.
But that's I left Scotland when I was 6 years old, so I can't claim to have survived like you have. But I went back every year all the time to see my family and stuff. And I remember taking my little cousin out. He was like 15, 16, but he's a little hard nut. So, and he was drinking already. So I was like 19, 20, but you wouldn't want to mess with this 15, 16-year-old, you know. But we went out, we went to a couple of bars, and on that trip into Glasgow, we met. You probably know yourself that the triads operate in Glasgow.
Yeah.
So we bumped into a car, and I mouthed off at the car, and the guy opened the window, and it was just a guy with an Uzi sat on the passenger seat.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I remember being in Scotland. Yeah, that's an average Wednesday in Scotland. Yeah, I remember there was like a whole year where the number one form of attack that was happening was axes. and you're thinking, what? Like, surely we've, But the thing is, like,
that's not normal.
So I was going to say, so I guess there's no axe throwing in Glasgow because that would probably give people trauma.
I just think
before it became cool in London.
Yeah, it is a brutal nation, but I think there's a certain charm to it, and there's also like a sense of humor, and a lot of the kind of it's a context that you really get when you're in it. You know what I mean? And it's kind of it's like a lot of in jokes, but I think the one thing that a lot of people don't understand it, even in Scotland, if you're from the central belt of Scotland, you probably haven't seen some of the most beautiful sights that are around Scotland. It's a country that's got so many beautiful sights, and I'm kind of like my mom likes to go around looking at all these sites because it's her place, it's her like home country as well, and so she just wants to see all the and we're constantly blown away when you see some of these places. You could not believe that that's in Scotland, like white sandy beaches, like if you saw pictures of it, you would think like this is some beautiful tropical country, and it's it's like an island off up in the Northern Hebrides. So but the one thing is the people are hardened, but there's a sense of humor, and I think like a lot of people who worked on the film are Scottish, so the in jokes were all there, and it really translated, because the first time we watched the film with an audience was at the Glasgow Film Festival, and from about 4 or 5 seconds into the film, there was an in joke and they got it, and then there was another, and more and more and more and more jokes, and so like it was a kind of rapturous like laughing that was happening around the kind of auditorium, but like. It's funny on a general level. I mean, I don't know what you guys think. There is loads of like easy to get jokes, but there's a lot of inside jokes as well, and so it's that kind of thing of like not editing a lot of that out, because like even though we're American characters, like you should kind of get some of the kind of Scottish kind of under the surface jokes that are happening as well, but yeah, I think the credit of that comes down to Archie, one of the screenwriters, and James, and kind of like his vision from it. The attention to detail, which is in a lot of the kind of photography and how they captured a lot of the scenery. A lot of those places were real to us. Like, it wasn't my tenement block; it was the one just down the road, because my tenement block was knocked down, so it wasn't there. But that tenement block, I used to skateboard past every single day. I'd sat on that bench, So it was all real locations that we grew up on, like skating down Dens Road, so when I watch it, it's kind of like, wow, it's crazy to see this on screen, It's just a bit nuts.
Actually, your place is not just a film set, yeah.
That bench that you all hang out where you're having the fish and chips, and then I think you kick them up in the air to celebrate. Was that a moment in your actual life as well where you'd hang out on that bench? And
yeah, there's loads of places like that. Like, we used to walk down. Our college was just kind of just behind the two football stadiums, and we used to walk down there and then sit on the Hilltown, or we'd skate all the way down the Hilltown. And that bench is kind of near the bottom of the Hilltown, and it kind of just looks over the whole like waterfront. It's kind of close to the Law Hill, so you can kind of see the whole of Dundee from there. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, the view is stunning. One of the things I wish there was more of, and I don't know if this is something you tried to fight for, or if maybe it was just going to make the film a bit too long and it was all about the pace, was your music is so good. Like, the production level of your music and all the clever sounds and nuances you add, let alone the amazing kind of rapping skills. I would have loved to see how those ideas kind of like were planted in your minds, like when you're at the kind of telesales place, you're like, oh, I'm bored, and like you're hitting like a biro or something, you're like, oh, that's actually a cool little thing, and then he starts adding something, and then how you're creating this really kind of clever, deeper kind of it's almost like it has like a kind of filmic quality, your actual rapping. Like on a kind of deep level, because you're playing characters, you're interjecting, and all these different sound effects and skits, and it's really
no, I mean that would have been like amazing to do. There were so many different ways to go about it, The music side of it was a real. It was a tough project because a lot of the songs, like we used like 8 or 9 songs from our actual catalog. Some of them are kind of like, so one of the songs is like I made it originally in 1998. I didn't even have that computer anymore. I didn't have the ways that we were recorded. It was a DAT tape. How am I going to get music off a DAT tape? You know what I mean? It was just so I had to like rebuild all the songs again, which was kind of daunting because can you imagine, like, a lot of it was samples. So I had to go back, find the samples, and then replay the samples, change them so they weren't the samples, and then yet still make it sound identical to the old songs, but also make it sound good in a massive cinema. It's like such a difficult project on so many different levels, and yeah, the music supervisor Ian was cracking it, like kind of just talking me through it and getting like really good notes from James all the time because he had such a visual idea of how he wanted to use it in certain scenes. And so just that itself was like quite a difficult project, and we didn't have a long time. I told Danny, I said to him, like, whatever you do, like, this is going to be a difficult project because it's recreating old music to make it sound cool now. So that itself is sonically quite a difficult project. So whatever you do, don't call me up and tell me we need it for a week because I will, I'll lose my mind. And then he called me up the one day and he was like, we don't need everything in a week, but we need at least 6 of them kind of in demo form for the boys to start rehearsing. It was like, oh my God. So last summer, it was just like so many weeks of just no sleep, just working round the clock. But actually it was quite cathartic. It was crazy digging back through those songs and then to kind of hear how the attention to detail and how they kind of like the one scene that I really liked was like the scene with the song Medicine, and just how in the studio there was like so much pressure on getting it right. And there was A&Rs. I remember there was a song called Play With Myself, and an A&R, this song was like was going to be the big song of Silibil and Brains, and the whole song was about masturbation. And so the joke of the song was that we hated getting told you had to do a radio edit. So we made a song with no swearing, but every single thing was like kind of jokes about masturbating, and kids would get it, but like we get signed basically on the quality of this song. And then like almost half a year later, they're in the studio and the A&R is kind of everyone in the studio is laughing going, this song is so funny. And then someone turns around and says, I love how every single line is a kind of triple meaning punchline about wanking. And A&R's like, what? Is it really? I was like, how do you not know the song's called I Play It With Myself? And they were like, oh my God, scratch it. We can't use that song. It was like, genuinely, they didn't know that the song is, So, and then even trying to get that song in this film is tricky, right? Because it's like, it's just, you can't censor the song. It's, so it's like,
I was going to say it's a little bit like, well, Lane, we said cathartic, that it's almost like a time machine, right? And I love how you use a lot of references to Back to the Future. I've noticed you use a lot of those kind of like lyrics and stuff throughout some of different tracks. So, but I just want to say, mate, I bought the album and it's absolutely banging, man.
Oh, thank you very much.
Like, it's so good.
Yeah, because even on that album, even like, because I made like so many songs, and through the project, there was ideas. Like, I felt bad for the lads because Seamus and Sam learned so many songs, so many, not just the ones you hear. They learned like the whole catalog almost, because it came down to like there were so many songs involved, and they had to like learn all these different set pieces, and then they were going to cut the film together. And then it's like, well, these are now going to be the songs in the film, but they still had to like memorize. And so like, it's quite amazing that Sam and Seamus still to this day know every single lyric. And we were at a couple of the screenings, and every time I see Sam or Seamus, they start bursting out the rhymes, and they're actually pretty good now. Like they're seriously good rappers.
Maybe they can join you on a track.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, super meta. That'd be sick.
What do you think of the actors? How did you enjoy watching people play your life on screen? Because that, I know you're really heavily involved in stuff and you've been writing the script and it is your kind of baby, but these two people you don't know playing you, how mad is it seeing them represent you?
What's really cool was I got to see pictures of Seamus really early. I already knew Sam was a very well established actor. I'd seen him in loads of his stuff, so I was quite. I first thought that he was trying out for me, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's great! Like, what a great actor!" And then they showed me Seamus, and he looks identical to my nephew. He actually looks like he's in my family.
Oh,
So I had this weird feeling of just like where you like someone before you even really get to know them deeply, you know. And then when he came and hung out with me, and he started asking like just really deep questions about things that were in the book. So because he wanted to like get into the context of the character, he had to carry things that we kind of knew early on were not going to be in the film. So like what happened to me from South Africa to school in Motherwell, and like this trauma that was like, then he had to carry on. So like you're supposed to kind of watch the film and go, wow, this guy's like actions are extreme. You know, he's like afraid of something. He's quite clearly gone through something. You know, his confidence is gone. And that's a lot of stuff for a young actor in his first major role to understand, like, what am I carrying in? So like when he was asking me questions, I was like, whoa, like what kind of grown up mind he has on his shoulders to understand some of this stuff, you know? And yeah, we just got really deep really quickly, almost like worryingly quickly. And everything kind of like synced in. Like we'd talk, but then take sips at the exact same time of our beer. We were on the same kind of, we'd pee at the same time. We're like, it's like, eventually I stopped him and I was like, we went up to the bar and then he ordered, but I ordered at the same time and we ordered the exact same drink. And I was like, are you, come on, are you doing this? He's like, no, it's my round, you know? So yeah, so we had like a really weirdly good kind of back and forth straight away. And then he kind of like, he rapped and I was like, oh God, he can actually rap. That's pretty cool. He's musical. He understands timing. He understands rhythm. He got the idea of like, you know, like it's a musical. And so like there's a lot about the performances kind of rhythmic and time. And so I think that's got a lot to do. Obviously, his family are, you know, a phenomenal Scottish group. You know, he's like basically the seed of this incredible, legendary Scottish band. You know, so no, so I was super happy with him. And then I think what Sam does is pretty damn incredible, because I think it gives this kind of heart. You know, like that maybe. I don't know if you would think like a couple of skaters who are always who are just so full of toilet humor and always making dick jokes and, you know, always battle rapping. If we were just constantly like if we were portrayed as that, which a lot of the scripts that I'd seen before were just these loud, brash idiots, you know, with no real heart, then yeah, I think you needed these types of actors who could like go into the deep stuff inside them, you know, and understand and portray things with a look that has more weight. You know, there's a moment where you know, Seamus looks into the camera and he's just looking up at the Billy character, and in one moment he gives across three different things. He's like, I'm proud of him, I'm really angry at him, and but this moment is everything for us, you know. And he does it with like just a slight move of his face, and you kind of feel that, and you're like, whoa, you know. So yeah, I was super proud of them. There was a moment in the Dundee screening where Seamus's mom is to my right and my mom is to my left, and it's the moment where my character is going through a lot. It's a really dark moment, and Seamus kind of just like he pulls that off in a way that was like so touching. I was so close to crying. And then Seamus's mom grabbed my leg and she's like, I'm so sorry that you went through that. And I always choke up because it was like so deep. And because she's watching her son go through this and she's feeling for her son, you know. It's like the kind of the levels, it's like very meta, you know. And then my mom reaches in and she's like, I'm so sorry you went through this. And I just burst out crying, you know. So I never knew it was going to be this emotional, a project, but it ended up being just very deeply touching, you know.
Man, it's powerful. Like we genuinely I wanted to go and see it because anything Scottish, I always want to go and see it. You know, you just have to. Drew already had it booked, but I went to see it on my own, and I didn't know what to expect. To be honest, I knew a little bit about you guys. I'd already seen the documentary, but that was quite a while ago,
Yeah,
and so I was kind of. Even though I'd seen the documentary, I thought, well, this isn't going to give me anything else, but I'll go and see it because it's glossy and James McAvoy. And then when I watched it, absolutely blown away. I came out buzzing. I was like, message Drew straight away. I don't know. I phoned you when I was in the car. I was like, dude, you need to book this film now. He's like, oh, I'm already going tomorrow. I'm like, fucking good. It blew me. I was all over the place with emotions. It was hilarious, and I was broken at points. Like, it added so much. And me and James were chatting earlier as well. Like, you guys are not too dissimilar ages from us. I'm 43. I know you're just like a year or so above that, but me and James kind of acted similar. Like, that's when Jackass was coming in, and you know, me and James are always wearing like Volcom and DCs and all this sort of stuff. And we were kind of, I didn't skate, but I was a skater kid. I wear the baggy stuff and things like that. And me and James used to do like parkour and piss around and
parkour. We used to just run up walls and pretend we did. I watched
stupid
at the
shit
beginning of the documentary. Like, we've got because I used to skate, and I still dress like I do, but I shouldn't. And we've got these old. I remember plugging together all the money when we were at college to buy one of them like old cassette video cameras to film us doing stuff with all the tracking lines, and then we try and like tape it, like get it together. End up with a little mini DV one in the end. You couldn't edit it because no one could afford an editing computer, so it'd just be loads of endless mini DV tapes, like it was like we were serial killers documenting something.
I've still got
and you just like trying to watch them back, plug in the thing in with a bloody SCART lead. It's like, ugh.
But yeah,
and then it would be all like botched and like grainy and things.
But like watching the film, it was very similar to like kind of what we went through. Yours was a bit more of an extreme, elevated version because you got really successful and you actually had talent at doing stuff. But
we didn't.
We just did the pissing around bit. That was it. But I think that's why we connected with it so much as well, because of similar age, and we were there when you started getting camcorders and stuff like that. But what sort of music were you into? Because I know you weren't just purely hip hop, were you? You were into metal. Like, I'm a metalhead. James is into not sort of metal as well, aren't you as well? But what were you into apart from just hip hop?
Yeah, like, oh man, just like so much music. I definitely, obviously I'm a lead singer in a metal band, but yeah, it started with like Motown. My mom used to play the speakers at her belly, before I was born. So I think I was just always going to fall in love with like soul, and then I think soul took me along the journey to I loved like things like Boyz II Men when I was a kid, which helped me out with melody, and then that kind of helps you get into like kind of Far Side and that kind of West Coast kind of lo-fi hip hop. But like anything that was, I mean, I was into rap, but I got more deeply into rap because when I got jumped to school, my uncle had put these like headphones on me, and so when I came out of that situation, I was like listening to hip hop. He had played like hip hop in my ear as well. I'm like unconscious, and so when I came out of that, all I could hear was punchline rapping and like multi-syllables and stuff. So I kind of was like really intrigued as to what that was, and then music stopped just being kind of something that I loved hanging out on the beach to, or like loved skating to, or loved to kind of just react to. It was more like, I have to find out how this is made, like every single part of it. So as soon as it was like, oh, I'll start writing some lyrics, and then falling in love with like Wu-Tang Clan and all the kind of like the early days, that kind of 90s, 91, 92, 93, Snoop, all the kind of great like rap records, but then also kind of like, when Rage Against the Machine come along, like everything that was kind of that, it was that kind of
good
time
mix
and that
as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Cypress Hill and all that. But I kind of wanted to know how it was all done, and I wanted to know how to like build music around lyrics, because lyrics were going to be like the way to give myself a voice, because I was feeling like a lot of really weird things. I went like almost a year without talking. I was rebelling in a weird way. I was also trying to figure out what was going on in my head, and I'd like kind of lost all my confidence, and I didn't know yet. This was before becoming a rapper, but I was like writing lyrics, and I just wanted to tell stories, or I wanted to tell people how I felt, and I was very angry. So like listening to like really aggressive, violent rap, just kind of like a lot of Tupac stuff where he's talking about getting revenge on people who have attacked him. That stuck with me, you know, and I kind of, it gave me just rapping his lyrics, you know, and then eventually when Eminem breaks, rapping their lyrics when they're talking about such pain is in some weird way like therapeutic. So I realized kind of early with rapping along to like Tupac that if I spoke about my pain, like it would make things feel less, I wouldn't feel so crazy, and I could feel better. And then when you start to like, you know, if you go and you start making like punk rock and rock, you can scream and you can be angry and you can like move your body on stage, and you can just, you know, like all these different ways for you to release energy, or like whether it's like rhythmically, melodically, whether it's just like just kind of getting your body to explode, you know. So yeah, so punk rock and rap have kind of always, I always kind of almost see them as the same thing to me. Like whenever I make a rap track, I want it to be so aggressive or like so frenetic. I don't want it to be mixed or to sound like a kind of simple rap track. I want it to be monstrous in a way, you know, because I have that kind of punk rock metal brain.
That's what was good about the noise, wasn't it? They kind of mixed that a lot back then. There wasn't like hip hop kids and metal kids. It was alternative kids.
Yeah,
I liked all of it.
No, I kind of feel like it was all the kind of same thing. It was like, what the idea with skate is, you know, like if you're trying to land a trick, you throw yourself on it all day long. You just hurt yourself all day long, and there's something in the hurt. You know, like once you hurt yourself, you kind of stop fearing hurting yourself, and so you get over the fear, you know. And so I think that's why I wanted my like kind of hip hop to be like painful, but also aggressive. And then if I could kind of get over the fear of doing it. So that's why battle rap is kind of, it's so scary. If you ever go and stand in a small venue with like 300 kids around you, any moment something could just pop off and it can get very violent. But to throw yourself in the deep end of that, stand in someone's face and tell them something hideously evil about them or their family and not get punched or get punched, whatever. To walk out of the venue that night, you kind of feel like, oh my God, I've conquered this real dark fear that's inside me. So I kind of saw music as another extension of skating or surfing, and another way of conquer the big fears that are out there, you know?
Yeah.
It's funny you should say that about like Tupac and that, because that was my like introductory to rap was Tupac. I've always been a Tupac fan since probably the year he died, when the music started coming out more. Like the album that came out, I think it was the Greatest Hits, like in '96, and it had that song you're probably talking about. I think they changed the name of it to Hit It Up, but it was originally called like Fuck Mob Deep or something. And like the whole song, the back end of it is just him about murdering people and that. And if you listen to it now, he's like just talking about bad boy rap and all this stuff, just going off on it. And you see the video as well, they're all just talking about shooting each other and things. And that was like my entry to rap. So it's like harder now for me to take the modern rappers that are a bit more PC, but I do watch the underground sort of rap battles. But on the subject of something else you mentioned, and being stupid when we were younger, the Rage Against the Machine comment was actually where this title came from, because me and Kevin, our Infinite Wisdom at Reading Festival, thought it'd be funny to take a large inflatable whale-shaped paddling pool into the venue and get in it whilst crowd surfing to Rage Against the Machine.
Nice.
None of that happened.
1996. When was that?
This was 2008.
Oh, okay.
2008.
Okay.
Yeah, you know when Rage Against the Machine got to number one because they were rebelling against Pop Idol or something, or X Factor.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I was at that show. Yeah, that was Yeah, that
You
was
you might have seen me
You
on
might
on
have
the
seen
Rage
blow up
Well.
Rage. You might have seen the whale go by.
Yeah, it got it
that
got
was you on the wheel.
yeah. I was in a fur coat at the time as well, and it was just to the beginning of Rage Against the Machine, and we're on the rate like Zane Lowe or some called it the Rage Whale. So we're like, oh,
Yeah,
so
we didn't even crowd surf to Rage Against the Machine because we couldn't hold it. So we had to just get in and crowd surf to nothing. I jumped out immediately because everyone was just like that. And Kev got pretty much to the front, didn't you? And then some strange
yeah.
looking lady was gripping a deflated whale
Oh yeah,
paddleboard at
like
the
a
end of
few
it when
hours
the
later.
crowds
Because,
dispersed.
Maybe she wanted his jacket. Maybe that's what it was.
It's very strange. We both had fur jackets. I remember that.
yeah,
I was,
go on.
I was just going to say that, it felt like Natural Born Spitter Brains was like a homage to Tupac.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
like all because there's a record that he had that was on. Oh, it's an early one. Strictly from, well, I can't even say that. I can't say the title.
Oh, okay,
I actually wrote that title in my book, because his album, which I love that album, is Strictly for My N-Bombs.
Okay, yeah.
And I had to do my audiobook recently, and that title's there written. And I got stuck. I was like, oh my God, I can't say this.
Oh.
But it's an audiobook, so you have to be able to say it's an album title. So you have, so yeah. But no, there's a track on that always, that's what I was always trying to get. I was always trying to beat that one track. Can't remember the name of it, but it's got that energy. It's got like horns in it. And I became obsessed with trying to sample or find Cuban kind of horns from like the 70s or 80s. That's a great thing about hip hop when it was the sample years, is that you would hear a sample in a song, and then that would you would be like, where did that come from? And then that would be like, Quincy Jones Motown record in 75. You know what I mean?
It's all soul, funk, or disco or something, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah. Like hip hop comes from somewhere else, and so there's this trail of kind of where it came from. There's a really cool website called Who Sampled, and you can go through all the tracks that have ever been made, and you see what kind of track birthed them. Which is really cool. It's like the hip hop is about reinvention. It's so, if you're someone who's ever gone through anything, hip hop can kind of like help you reinvent yourself. I think, like that's for me what the idea was.
Do you remember Fun Loving Criminals?
Who doesn't?
Because I was going to say, like when they sample tracks from like Tarantino movies or such and such, like you're saying, it's a cross merge of movies, rhythm, lyrics, like kind of poetry, like just like how it mixes different kind of medium is so it's so profound. It's beautiful.
From my earliest, the thing that I've always said inspires me more than anything is films, because when I was a kid, my granddad had a video store, so I would just get dropped off there and I would just watch all these films. And that was like super young. I had this, just you kind of like, you see a film, but you hear the soundscape, especially things like Space Odyssey 2001, like there's such unbelievable sounds. And I was always like just mind blown. So when I went into music, I would always try sample things from films. I would always try tell stories that were more like kind of circular storytelling, you try techniques that you're actually inspired from films rather than just from music, And so now it's like, it's been quite amazing to be such a film fan, to take the journey from just to living this life, then writing songs and then writing about the life and then having that get turned into a movie and then be able to score and like do songs in the movie. It's like, you couldn't, people sometimes say to me like, oh man, but it just would have been so cool if you had like made it. And I'm kind of like, but if we had released a pop hit, we would have been gone in 2 years. That would have been it. We'd have been gone, because the kind of music we were making was deliberately piss taking, because that's like our sense of humor at the time. We were trying to piss take everything. And we were also now piss taking an industry, like there's lots of inside jokes in that, those early records, But like to be able to kind of like not kind of blow up and yet just kind of constantly keep going and kind of actually develop real fans, go on tour as a punk rock band, work with kind of, orchestras, like do all this different stuff, work in video game, like it's a crazy career that I've ended up having. And then, the story has grown and grown and grown and grown worldwide. And I've been able to take a journey that I would never have been allowed to take. I would never have been allowed to done this if it just got its kind of simple success. And so I think it asks people to reevaluate what success is, because what success is to someone else is nothing like success to me. I never did any of it. I was doing it to cure my mind and recover from trauma. So just hearing someone sing a lyric back to me or like jump around at a stage show, that made me feel like I'm worth something finally. You couldn't give me money that could make me feel that way. Anytime I ever had big amounts of money, I just felt stressed and I didn't know what to do with it. Money made me feel worse, if anything, But like when someone comes up to you and says, hey man, like I've been suffering from addiction and I try to kill myself, and can I talk to you about it? Because they've heard your songs or they've read your book, and I go, yeah, let's talk about it. That makes me feel worthy. It makes me feel alive on a level like with another human being. That you can't equate that. So then if someone says, oh, but it would have been cool if you just made it, I'm like, I really wish you understood what for me making it means, because
you've had a bigger impact and more longevity, and now you've got kind of like a cult status as well because of it. And that story is gonna, we want to hear more. Like you say, like the films scratch the surface. There's so much more that maybe you can't put out there, but there's lots of stuff that there'd be other parts of the story that would be interesting to the public, especially now. I was going to ask. I was going to ask if you had any acting background, but from the way you described things a moment ago, going into the American accent stuff, would you say that's more of escapism, just making that character up and just living into that world? Because it sounded like you needed to kind of escape and, from...
Yes, I think as soon as I was kind of moved from South Africa, which it's a complicated country, but in South Africa, I was seeing so much change every single day. Mandela had just been brought out from prison, and he was like, it just felt like it was a country moving in the right direction. There was so much good going for it. Obviously, the sports team started to do really well. So my youth in those ages was like watching South Africa do well in the Cricket World Cup, and then watching South Africa win the Rugby World Cup, and it felt like everyone was together celebrating this new country. And then I'm ripped out of it, and I go to a country which feels is downtrodden, and it feels like the people are there's two different sides again, but now it's kind of Catholic and Protestant, and now it's like this, you know what I mean? It just felt like, damn, like now I'm in an even more
Scotland was pretty stagnant, especially in the areas like North Dundee, like more rural places, like those little towns. Yeah, they're definitely more deprived. Weren't they?
That area. The area in Motherwell that I moved to was called Little Bosnia by the locals, and so like on a good day you'd be asked for change, and on a bad day you'd be robbed for it, and the person who was robbing you would be your 12-year-old next door neighbor, and so like that's kind of the what the neighborhood was like. But the thing about it is I still kind of view that all as like quite a bit of a gift, but I definitely felt like I was anywhere I was trying to get away. Anywhere like I was trying to escape, so Dundee was the only place where when I moved to Dundee, I actually genuinely felt, wow, like I could get down with this place, because there was loads of skaters. I got ingratiated into a skate crew, and then bang, now I'm just traveling around with these guys, getting drunk, skateboarding every day, just getting up to no good. And when I'm not, I'm just making beats. I'm falling in love with this new art form. I'm kind of in this record store called Groucho's at the time. I'm digging through crates, it was just a beautiful, lovely time, and but then even after a while, even after a few years there, I'd kind of like just done everything I could do. And I got kicked out of uni for making beats all the time. I lost my job at the call center. I lost my job in a skate store, because I'm just obsessed with making this music. And so I just kind of a good friend of mine passed away, and I just kind of felt like, God damn, I got to escape again. I felt like trapped and locked in,
Yeah.
to a place where, and I loved it. And it gave me like kind of my confidence, but I felt like I had to get out, and so, yeah, I think that's that thing of like running from your trauma and trying to find somewhere where you can just be yourself. And being yourself actually might be being loads of different people until you find yourself. That's why I always hated when people would say, especially with this film, whenever anyone would say like, oh yeah, it seems like the moral is just be yourself, man. And it's like, fuck no. That couldn't be any further from what the moral of California Schemin is. It's like, no. You should go out there and be whoever the fuck it takes for you to find yourself. Go and be the hero, be the villain, be anything. Find who it is that you really are. And you're not going to do that by trying not to break the rules. You're going to have to break some rules. You're going to have to smash some eggs to make some omelets. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to need to
100%.
fuck up.
I was going to say, because I was something I wrote down was like, I thought the message as well was like, it's, yeah, you can get caught in a line that it can come unfolded, but ultimately it's not a bad thing to lie and cheat the system. The system was there to fuck you over. You could have done the next step that you wanted to, but it was literally the system of people not liking the accent, which is just ridiculous, especially today. Like, loads of artists are more famous because they've got a Scottish twang and or a Yorkshire twang. They sound more unique or honest, like Arctic Monkeys, they sound like where they're from, and Biffy Clyro sound like where they're from, and that's a bonus. Whereas back then, you had to do what you had to do what you wanted to do, and who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's not like you didn't like kill anyone. You just put an accent on so you could continue doing what you want to do.
It's like beyond your boundaries. You've got to break your kind of comfort zone. I always say beyond the other side of your comfort zone is a better version of yourself, but you have to get there. It's like that quote where they say, nobody can give you courage, you have to take it. And that still till this day blows my mind. It's not like someone could go, here's some courage. It's like, no, you have to grab it. And that's pretty much what you guys did. And you can see that you're chasing something, you're running from something, you're running away from something, but you're also running towards something. And that's that real nice kind of paradoxical element to this film.
And I think that's a great point as well. But I think that's like really the difference between the two characters is like the Billy character doesn't come from trauma, and like he's confident, good looking guy, he's got a girlfriend, like everything's good, whereas the Gavin character, like me, like I come from like losing my identity, like being a good football player and then being jumped and then not being able to play football, and like losing. If you grow up your whole life as a sports person and then you can't walk for 6 months and you have to relearn how to do things like that, as a young person, that is like that's a death. That is a death of an identity. And so now you are like, you're kind of behind, but you're running fast and you're trying to catch up to everyone because you're trying to become all these different things. And so what ends up happening is you're accelerating your speed. I mean, I must have spent so many hours in a room alone with turntables and with sampling kits and just trying to like work it out. You do your 10,000 hours, but you're doing it like every day, like obsessively trying to become something, just so that you can put your head down on a pillow at night and not feel scared that the next day you're not going to be there or that you're just going to like dissolve, So like that's why the Gavin character doesn't just want to go back home, because I can't just go back home. Like, I don't know who I am yet. Like, and this character is the only vessel that's actually carrying me. It's not perfect, but it's carrying me forward. I'm learning new things. I'm learning about an industry. I'm learning about personalities. I'm actually seeing the bad side of the plan and the good side. And it's just so much stuff that's kind of like, it is actually genuinely working, but it's kind of like, this should have just been, you kind of realize like, I should have just done this journey myself. I shouldn't have involved other, but then you have to learn that, you have to risk, and you have to have arguments with friends to become better friends in many ways. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to argue with your partner to see the ins and outs of what you both are. Like, you have to, do you know what I mean? Like, nothing gets done that's worthwhile if it's easy, it's just not worthwhile. There has to be some bending and breaking and molding for you to like, and so like that, what you said there about taking courage, developing courage will be the hardest thing you ever do in your life, because to get there, you're gonna have to face fear. You're gonna have to conquer some of the hardest shit that's in you, the darkest stuff that's in you. You have to walk through that fire, So I feel pretty good now, but I only feel good because I'm less scared of all the things I was scared of. It's like die a couple times, and all of a sudden you're not that afraid of dying anymore. So I view it like a big privilege rather than it's not like a brag or anything to be, but but it's a huge privilege to like have risked and taken such big risks, and to just be alive is like just okay.
Well, it's like you've got through that minefield and you're the other side of it, and you're able, like you said, you're an inspiration to others. And like you were saying about success and how people measure it, it's like what people say to you in private messages is priceless. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't put a number on the kind of what you've given to people on a deeper level.
Yeah.
So I want to say, I think it was inspiring, man. Like after I watched that film, but also when I watched the documentary and saw what you were willing to risk to try and discover yourself, or to try and kind of, tell the industry the way it is, like call them out on their bullshit. And I think that was so kind of brave, like you're saying, and to do it almost like a Jekyll and Hyde, two minds inside one body. And not only the inner battle you're having with yourself, but the battle you're having with a best friend, the battle you're having with your career, all of these different things pulling you all these different directions. And look where you are and what you've achieved now is just, mate, I mean, it's absolutely incredible.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and the whole way along that journey is that the thing that's hardest is that because people don't know you, and that's a completely natural thing as well. When you are trying anything big and you're risking a lot, obviously people don't know your parents, they don't know where you come from, so no one's going to trust you that you have good intention. And I think that's the thing that's taken this story a long time to get, like even like the rap fans in Scotland, or people who might have been like, oh, I don't know about this, I don't know if I can give my stamp of approval on this, until they see actually like the emotional journey. Like when I think like the Vice article came out, which was quite a big viral piece, but it's so short and it's so buzzy, and all the newspapers and all the kind of magazines, you can't get any depth of emotion. So then that just kind of looks like, oh, these fucking guys, they're just trying to get fame or whatever, because it's just the broad strokes of the story. So you have to mention the famous people and stuff, and that kind of detracts you from like what the story is actually about, which is just like good intentions. What starts as like, we're kids who now we can't turn away. We can't turn away. We've seen inside the beast. And if we turn away, then we're the fucking idiots. We're the ones who then go back to our country and have to look in the eyes of young musicians coming up. And we know that they're never going to get shot. So, and we had friends at the time who were great bands and who were kind of given up just because someone wouldn't play their record on radio, or just because someone wouldn't give them a gig. And then they'd come home and be like, oh, I guess, well, that's it. And it's like, that's not it. Don't give up like that, And so we felt like I always felt like, and maybe where Bill and I would argue sometimes, was that I knew that deeply inside that it's not like I want to go home a hero, but I want to go home and say, now like we can all go for it now. Like it's there where we can be. I want to prove that we can be great being from wherever you're from, because I knew I'm from South Africa, like, and yet I'm in here in Scotland, and you know what I mean? It's like, you could be anything and you can prove that you're good, and I just kind of always had that like really honest, deep intention that if you could just get inside my brain, you would have seen I mean well, but then because I'm so, and I've agreed with this because even my best friend has said it, like, he'd say that you're, Oscar, I think he said in the documentary that I'm a Hitler in the studio. And I know that I'm psychopathically driven to achieve. but it's always done it never with the intention to hurt anyone or cause any harm. But when you are like trying to risk things at the highest level, there will always be kind of collateral damage. But it's just, I think people can finally see a little bit more of the heart of the story, and that did help writing the book. And people go, okay, wow, okay, there's a lot more to this story than just these articles are putting out there, you know, or like radio or stuff. It's like, holy crap, this is like a deep journey, you know. And if you've been bullied at school, or if you've like had an identity crisis, or if you've struggled to know who you are, or if you've gone through something really deep with addiction or maybe like abuse, then you can kind of read it and go, shit, I'm not like the only one who's felt this stuff, you know?
This weird analogy came to my head though. You're almost like the rapping Bilbo Baggins, because you know when he goes off on an adventure. You know when he goes off on an adventure and then comes back to the Shire and then tells everyone and go, listen, like I found this thing, and like you got to go out there. It's amazing, and they're all too scared to leave, and you're like giving them that hope and going, there is some great stuff out there. Just
that's exactly what it is.
I mean, you're not wrong, but that is the worst analogy ever.
Lord of the Rings would have been a very different story if it was about a little rapping leprechaun singing about masturbation and stuff, and skipping his way to get probably a different type of ring.
A different kind of ring. True.
I'm glad you didn't do a Hitler analogy. That's what I thought you were about to say.
No, God, no.
Could have been worse.
It could have been worse.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like in the studio, when people are calling you things like that, it's almost a compliment. All the greats are obsessive when they're in their creative sphere. You know, it's your baby. It's
just to be clear, Kevin doesn't think Hitler's great, even though he's referred to him as one of the greats.
What? I'm not talking about. What are you on about?
Clip that.
I'm talking about people calling Gav
a
bit of a nightmare in the studio.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's a good thing, because it's your baby, it's your creative process. You need to get it right. It's your thing. So you've got to be on
when you're the lead singer or the producer, like you understand because you're paying, or you see the invoices, like you understand that it's 300, 400, 500 quid a day in these studios. Yeah. And so you're like, obviously musicians might want to mess around, or your guitarist or your drummers like sound checking the drums for like, you know, just like, lads, we got to fucking move, you know, like we don't have time, like be good, be ready before, stay ready, so you have to get ready, you know, like, so it's little things like that where, you know, once I'm working on something, and even in this project, when I was going into studios, there's a lot of really cool people that let me use some of their studios, you know, they gave me a lot of free time or whatever when we'd kind of overstayed our welcome. But, you know, every now and then you get someone who's really young and they're kind of like, oh, what you should do here. And it's like, shut the fuck up. You know, like you have to be like, listen, I don't have time to explain what my idea is. I can't, like, I've got to move here. We don't have time, you know? And like, so I think like, yeah, it's like stuff like that where it's like, listen, there's a vision. You've just got to run with it. Let's fucking go. We don't have time, you know? Because of this stuff fucking costs. You know what I mean?
Your name's attached to it. It's like, I don't know if you know the famous thing about James Brown. You know, when he used to do that thing with the 5, and everyone used to think it was a groove thing he was doing. But rumor has it, every time a member of his band messed up, he'd be docking them that much.
All right, well, I've never done that.
No, but it's the idea. It's like, stick to the beat, man. If you mess up this track, like our name's attached to this. So it's like, let's get it right, you know? But it's also like, if something is worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's nothing worse than someone going, well, it was a half-assed attempt and a few people liked it. It's like, well, what was the point in putting in all that time and effort? If it's like, I just got a book made and I was probably an absolute nightmare. And my editor even said, you were an absolute nightmare. And I said, but once this book is made, it's out there. It's not like I want to bury it somewhere. It's like, I want it to be the best it can be. And hopefully the best it can be for you as well, because your artwork is attached to it and you've edited it. So it's like, why are we rushing it? Like, can we just talk things through so it's the best it can possibly be? So I get that, man. You're carrying something up a mountain and you want to make sure it's It's the best.
It's complicated, Gav. Like your stuff's complicated. It's not. You're not singing a ballad. You know, it's really full on musically and lyrically, and that's easy to get that stuff wrong and trip up, isn't it? So you need.
Well, especially in some of these situations where you're, the truth, the truth about you, like, oh, we're not who we say we are. We've never been in this expensive studio. So you're when you come from not having money, you're kind of like really conscious on every penny, so you're like, I'm not in the studios like, oh, I'm just going to go to the bar and, have some of the free food. I'm just like, fuck that. Like, I'm like, let's get this done and get out, because this shit's costing a lot of money. So I think that's just that being that kind of the underclass where you're used to just kind of working hard and let's not piss around here, But then as I've got on through my career, I've always kind of, people have been really generous. And after a while, I think everyone just gets out your way and they go, look, we know you were doing, on you go. And then they just help. They're just there to help, But just in the early stages of my career, I had to really fight for every idea, I think sometimes that's, and I think you should as well. I'm not moaning about that. I think that's the stuff that does develop you as a kind of communicator. I definitely in my younger years didn't know how to communicate my ideas properly as well. So I had to learn how to do it. Even just on recent projects, when people are giving you like notes of the music you're making, or like, oh, can it do this? Can it do that? Nowadays, like just recently, even on the California Schemin, I know how to like create a language. So, if someone says it has to be more like this, or it has to be this, or it has to be that, like I will give them like a way to explain themselves so that I understand clearer, so we don't have to do the dance. So you set up a rhythm and a language, and so like the where you get to now is so far from like being a young kid going, fuck that, fuck off, I'm gonna get out of my way, like, and just you can just be like too much for people. But I think, in the early days, I think you have to fight though, because especially if you're a young artist, no one thinks you know what you're talking about, and everyone just stomps over you. You have to be a loud voice in the room, or else you just get kicked out the room, So I was always just the person who was willing to fight for us and be like, nah, fuck that. I know what I'm doing. Like, fuck off. Let me at it, And then people would always come back and be like, oh yeah, okay, cool. I remember having like an argument. These producers they already had like massive hits in Sweden, and I had just had my MPC 3000, and I had all my stuff inside the box. I'd worked on all these samples, cut them in different ways in the computer, and I'd put them inside the MPC 3000. So I basically knew I was just walking in with loaded guns, And I was sitting there, and then they came in the studio, and they had this kind of like, oh, we're the big Swedish producers, like, you can fuck off out the room now. You're just a rapper, go in the other room and get ready to rap. And I was just like, and I've been working on this beat, and I was like, but nah, like, listen to this. And I was basically messing around with a baby. I'd sampled a baby making noise. Not with a microphone next to the baby. I didn't use a real live baby.
Just come in here with that baby. Please give that baby back.
I sampled a baby from a movie, like three men and a baby. And I'd sampled the cute little noise it made. And then I was going to turn that cute little noise into like this weird synth sound. And then I was going to play it. And I was halfway through it, and they didn't get what I was doing. They were like, what is this idiot doing? And then I was like, no, you can fuck off, and like they were just like standing there, and they're like pissed off, like, why is he in our seat? That's our seat, we're the producers. And then within 20 minutes they were like hovered over me, like going, holy fuck, oh shit, like that, and then bang, then you drop the beat in and you show them that you've built all these layers, and there's a massive fucking gargantuan song coming through the speakers. Then they're like, oh shit, and that was seasoned veterans who then had to like kind of just go, oh, that sounds pretty good. And they wanted to take credit for it in the end as well. And I said,
oh yeah,
right,
yeah. I wanted to be on your side there, but when you said that you were young and they were seasoned, you walked in with baby samples, I'd have been like them as well. Who the fuck is this kid? What the fuck is this kid playing at? I'm on their side.
This kid playing with kid noises. But at least you kept it authentic, though. That's the thing, because like you're saying, there's not necessarily an ego to other people in the studio, but they do it so regularly that they're just used to knowing what to do from a kind of professional etiquette. And you guys essentially, especially when you see the movie, you're like cowboys in a way. You've just rocked up and be like, we're badass, check this out. And it's like, whoa, hang on, we've been doing this for years. Let us just show you the ropes. You're like, no, I got different ropes. I want to show you these fucking ropes. And it's that kind of, but then they can't see your vision until you give it to them. So the fact that you had the kahunas enough to stand up for yourself and go, guys, I'm going to make this baby sound sweet. Just check it, So it's...
You guys are going to be loving this baby sound.
You're going to be loving this baby.
I think the funniest thing as well is that I don't know how accurate this is from the documentary, the film, but you come across as very in control and knowledgeable, and you know what you want, and you want to go out and get it, and you do your research and you practice and you're on point. And then when you go and do all the American accents and convert yourself into Americans, you've got everything nailed, the look, everything. And then someone goes, where are you from? You're like, I don't know anything bar the word California. I don't even know what's in California. I don't know what schools are, what semester is, I don't know anything. I'm shocked that you didn't do any research on that. But
no, I know, but it's like a boxer. It's like a boxer that goes into the ring who's done 1,000 rounds on the kind of the bag, or but then you go in the ring and someone smacks you in the face, and you're like, oh my god, I don't want to be here. It's like we had to learn really quick. I mean, we didn't have the internet like we do now, we were just winging it, and we were just hoping so much that that people wouldn't ask certain questions. But then it forced us to be really good at improvising, which obviously as freestyle rappers, we would rhyme every single day. And we played a game called Porcupine that just makes your mind so malleable to be able to move through situations. And eventually we found ourselves playing that game with everyone, because people, as soon as they would meet us, they just started throwing these questions, because they're kind of falling in love with you. And so they're kind of like, oh, what about this? And what about this? And you're just crumbling. You're going, God, I don't know how to answer this. Like, we never thought this was going to work. Never mind that they're going to be asking us all these questions, So we just had to like roll with it and just improv and move. And I mean, there's so many times, it's hard to get them all in, but there's so many moments where we just almost got caught out along every way. Like one of the craziest ones was on the day that we signed to Sony. We went into the boardroom, and this was like, we now are and we've been there for a little while. There's a hell of a lot of stories that we've started the rumors about that are going around the industry, because we knew that we wanted that Marilyn Manson effect. He had a rib removed to suck his own dick. Or, you remember all those crazy stories?
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to create that effect, so we would go to parties and just say like, "Oh, I heard that like they were raised by wolves." Like I heard that and just say the craziest things to like create this so much nonsense that people would be like, they wouldn't ask us a serious question because they would know that this is all jokes, So we thought everyone was in on the game of like, don't trust anything these guys say. They're unreliable narrators, right? Like we're trying to create that. But like people would turn up on that day at the day we signed with Sony, and there was a girl who was like, "Oh, so you guys are from Huntington?" Because their story was that we went from Hemet to Huntington Beach, just because we had seen loads of skate videos, loads of surf videos, loads of like Vans Warped Tour kind of was out of a car park there. We knew like some iconography of Huntington Beach, and so and we knew like some of the skate stores that were there, Van City, Slam City Skates and stuff. And so this girl was like, "Oh no way, you lived in Huntington Beach?" And Bill was the other side of the room, and normally we did like this lead recover. So if one was going down a road of some BS, the other one's listening, trying to figure out where they're going wrong, and then they'll come in and interrupt. And Bill was the other side of the room, and I'm just like, they kind of covered it in a way in the one scene where I'm getting asked loads of questions. They kind of dealt with it, but this scene was so hardcore because she was like, "Oh no way, I'm from Huntington." It was like, "Oh, cool." She's like, "Oh, you guys worked at one of the skate stores, right?" She says, "Sure. One of the skate stores." And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Which one?" And I'm like, "Oh, no." It's like, she doesn't say, "I worked in a skate store, then you can work with that."
Yeah.
And so the only one that I can think of is Slam City Skates. She's like, "No way. I worked in Slam City Skates. Who was the boss?" And I'm like, oh, all these things are getting down to like 20% getting this right, 10% getting this right. So I'm saying like, Victor, you know, and I'm like trying to read her eyes to see if she's like, you know, the first couple names. No, I must. You know, oh no, wait! You know, she says a name that I haven't even said. You know, because I think people want it to work out. You know, so like she says this name, I'm
they
like,
want
oh,
a connection.
yeah. And then it kind of worked, but I remember sweating and just feeling like this. I'm getting nauseous. You know, like that. This is going so badly wrong. And like I think Bill saw me at one point just like freaking out, and he knocked something over. He like knocked over a champagne glass, and then everyone kind of changed the perspective. But it was so crazy. It was so scary. And there was an A&R at Sony who James's character is kind of based on, Dougie Bruce, who we had the first meeting with, and we thought that we got it. That was the guy who one of us said I, and he was like I. You know, and he kind of knew. So his character never rumbled us, and he never worked with us, but he was at Sony the whole time. So every time we went into that building and we saw him, we'd be ducking, we'd be running, you know, we'd be trying to hide from this guy. And there was one moment where he got it. This was like later on, Sony had merged with BMG, and he was still working there. He was like running Epic Records at this point. So now he's a big guy, you know, and this is 2 years on, he gets into the elevator, and there's Bill and I. And we're just like, oh my God, it's him, you know. And he's just kind of looking over his shoulder, like kind of trying to look at us and make eye contact. And we're just, you know. And at one point he says, I think he says, do I know you two? And I think I tried to speak an Australian accent to him. Nah, mate, nah, we're just visiting, you know. And it was just like, he got weirded out, and he's like, but I think he knew it was us. He just never said, and he didn't want to rumble us because it was an awkward moment. And he just said something that was just kind of like, yeah, good luck, guys, you know, and he just walked out. But it was like, I felt, I was like almost passed out. That, you know, those moments were so, the air just goes out the room, and you just think you're going to pass out, you know. It's like, it was so scary. There's so much of that you could not get all into. Like,
so he was Scottish as well. He
was Scottish,
Dougie. Yeah.
Dougie Bruce, yeah.
That was perfect for James McAvoy to play that. And what I thought when James McAvoy came on screen, he's got such a presence, and I was saying to these guys, terrifying. When James McAvoy comes on stage, he was more scary than what he was in I See No Evil. He came across like a serial killer. He was so, like, when you guys chatting, when you messed up and said and he was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit.
That's the cool thing, because like people have said to me like, oh, is it accurate? And it's like, well, the thing is, it's like, it's not really that whether it's accurate or not. It captures moments that capture a feeling that are so on the nose that it's almost like more accurate than, it's like realer than real. But obviously they have to change things, and they have to, because they've only got a certain amount of time to deal with. But I was actually really shocked at how much they did get in from the book. You know, because a lot of people kind of always, you know, there's that thing where you read a book and then you go see the film, and you get drawn between which one you like more, you know. And I definitely think this film like complements and carries on, but isn't like, it's not trying to do exactly what the book's saying. It's just like trying to like bring it to life in this kind of really weird, interesting way. But the things that are so accurate is like our clothes were our clothes. You know, like they had my shoes. They rebuilt the shoe because they couldn't get it off Vans, so they rebuilt the shoe for Seamus. They rebuilt the shirt that I wore on MTV, because I actually loved that shirt, and they remade it because they couldn't get it. And also Atticus sent them a whole bunch of stuff. Like, you know, our actual sponsors at the time remembered us and sent them a whole bunch of stuff. It was super cool, you know. Wow. So when I remember turning up on set the one day and just being like tripping because they looked so much like us. One of them had my boxer shorts on. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? It's so crazy. It was like walking into a time loop, you know? Like, it's just this weird thing.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I hope they wash the boxer shorts first. But that's quality. Well, what I mean, I'm conscious that we've kept you over an hour. Like, this is just flown. But what have you got planned? Have you got anything in the works next, or you just happy with what you've done recently? Are you writing at the moment, or what's the process these days?
I'm kind of like someone who is like, I have these big plans and dreams, and I start them and I'm just going to achieve them, but it's going to take a while, you know, like I've always done this stuff myself as well. Like not really managed, you know, like not really, because I'm kind of like a maverick in the music industry. So I'm a bit like kind of blacklisted. So it takes me a little bit longer to do big things, you know, but I think that's changing now. I think people, again, like people see your intention, you know?
Yeah.
But I also still kind of always do things a little bit different. Like I'm not a young kid who's going to get ripped off. I believe in myself, you know. So like I don't really have an open door to kind of those kind of cunty types. You know what I mean? Like they kind of run a mile from me. But cool people now reach out to me, so that's cool. So like so I think like with California Schemin specifically, I think like what I'm starting to work on is like the stage show, because I want to take it to like the stage. I actually started that before Hamilton was even a thing. I was planning to tell the story as a stage show, all in multisyllabic rhymes with like beats and like a moving stage. And then Hamilton came out, and a friend said, "Oh my God, like he tells the whole story in multisyllabic rhyme." And I was like, "All right, that's it. I'm done." I'm not gonna... Yeah. So, but actually, you know, the grown-up me should have said, "Well, no, this shows that it'll work. Don't come off that road."
Yeah.
But now that the film's there and it's in a really healthy place, it's like a fun project. So I'm always making music, and so I've got like quite a few more records to go. My punk rock band are still doing stuff, and it's just like everything's just in a really cool place. Like I make music, I wake up, make music, do everything for the love, and it's a really healthy, it's a healthy way to be. You know, it's like I never had music as the thing that was like giving me money, you know, and so I learned to love it in a way that it doesn't have to, you know. And so now when it kind of it starts to give you a career, it's like, or something you can live off, it's like, well, I'm not gonna all of a sudden now just try and make pop records or like try to make something that's going to make just money. It's like it has to be great, you know. So I've got a lot of cool people who have reached out and want to work with me, and I've got just like some really good musical projects. But things like that, things like taking it to the stage, you know. We're going to obviously take the film to America, and then I've got like loads of books that I'm still writing and trying to bring out as well. So yeah, it's just a fully creative life. If I fall asleep and I see a screenplay, then I'll wake up and write a screenplay. If I wake up and have a long form story, I'll write that. Or if I have a melody, I'll just get to work on that. And it's taken a long time, but it's kind of like it's my version of full creative freedom. So, and it's been hard. It's not. I wouldn't really advise to lots of young musicians. Like I always tell them, like, man, if you could do anything else, please try do anything else. You know, like unless this is the thing that can make you feel alive and normal and can soothe you, then do anything else. Because this is to make a career out of your art is the hardest thing, because you're going to have to go to war every day for your art, and it's going to take way longer than it would take anything else. You know, and so I'm kind of there now that I can just enjoy the ride and make good projects and just be like a little kid, you know, like play like a child every day, you know. So that feels good. That's where I'm kind of at now. But yeah,
mate, that's exciting.
I was going to say, it's amazing though, because you've kind of taken the reins of your own career rather than being dictated to. Like when you see these documentaries and you see the people that own bands, and I can't remember the name of the people that like the production houses and everything, like, this is how many gigs you guys are doing, and they're kind of cracking the whip, and like the mental health is through the roof of those people, and they can't sleep, they can't breathe half the time, because it's like they're constantly like on a conveyor belt of performance. Whereas you get to do it, like you're saying, you live, breathe, and, you know, sleep music or creativity, from like books to music to theatre to whatever it is. I was going to say, do you think, or did you ever manifest things? Because I thought it was fascinating that you love hip hop and all this, and you end up doing a show with D12. Like that for me was just like mind blowing. Was that ever something you wrote down, or like did you ever listen to their music and go, one day it would be sick to be with Eminem and the gang?
Not only that, but that whole sequence was 100% a dream that just came true. I've been dream journaling since I was 9 years old because I suffer from like really bad night terrors. And so when I was a kid, a friend of my mom told her to tell me to write your dreams down, and it will stop the night terrors happening. And so because I've been doing that since a little kid, I have the benefit of seeing how many dreams have just happened, because I keep the diary so I can go back and find them. And so I remember having a night terror where I was on stage and I'm in this venue, and I'm rapping these lyrics that I haven't written in history yet. I'm rapping them, and then I start messing up the lyric because I look to the side and I see Billy, and I look to him and we kind of like smile, but we're heading in this weird trippy thing where like, oh my God, we realized something. And I was having a night terror. Billy was sleeping at my house at the time, and he threw a shoe and he woke me up. And I woke up and I drew the venue in my rhyme book, and I drew this logo. Now, D12 weren't yet a band. Right? They weren't. No one knew of D12 commercially yet. They were a group, but no one knew of them yet. And I had drawn their old English logo in my rhyme book before I heard of them. And I told Bill that the dream. And so later on, when we were on stage at Brixton supporting D12, getting on, I start to trip up on the song Medicine because I realized, fuck, this is the song from the dream. And then I'm messing up the lyrics, and I look at Bill and he's like, oh my God. And then you know what I mean? So like that moment literally happened.
It's living out your deja vu. That's madness.
So I've always learned that if I have a dream and it feels like super real, wake up, write it down, like honor the dream, and if it, especially if it's something that feels good that you want to explore, then I will go 100% and explore it. Some dreams are just crazy dreams that you shouldn't go anywhere near. I've learned the hard way on that.
That's some X-Files shit there. That is mad.
Yeah.
I was just thinking how kind of like apt it was that you were pulled to Scotland being these American characters. It was like the universe had this like stopwatch and go, guys, we're calling this potentially, because it's like the countdown, and that's what you feel in the movie. Like it's so tense. You're like, you guys are going to Scotland, and you're thinking, oh fuck, hang on, we know people there that know we're not American. So it's the idea that the universe is almost trying to either call you out on this world you both created for yourself, or say, can you prove enough that you are bigger than yourselves, and that everyone's just going to believe it. But that's
when we were in doing it, you would not believe the amount of times where I would have this feeling where I'd be like, really, this is what, are you kidding me? Because like there was one moment where we walk into King's Cross station and we're with JD, we're with this guy from our management company, and he's with someone from the label, and me and Bill are just walking in front of them. We go on the escalator, and at the bottom of the escalator is our skate crew from Dundee coming up the escalator. They've just randomly come to Dundee to London to skate. And so we hit the deck. We're like lying down. I'm pretending I've got a bad back. And Bill's like, Gav, you all right? We're low, so they can't see us. Like, I remember being in a party in Oxford Circus, and my ex-girlfriend, or like a person I used to work with, that we only got together for a little bit, but she was randomly at this party, but didn't know anyone. She just knew someone in London. She would end up there. And I duck, hit the ground, crawl to the bathroom, sit in the bathroom the whole time. Because I'm like, if I go out there, she's going to see me. So moments like that, it's just, where you're just going like, the universe is maybe kind of trying to warn you, like,
close calls, man.
You are messing with some kind of chemistry you don't understand yet here, Or it was trying to say, I'm not going to make this easy.
Yeah. How much do you want it?
Yeah.
How much do you want this?
How far are you willing to go?
Well, it's like the two of you were like two talented Mr. Ripleys and just trying not to get caught out. Do you know what I mean? But then at least you've got each other at the time, to try and get each other out of those situations. But which is good when it's working. Yeah.
When you're two talented Mr. Ripleys and it's not working, then you've got a crazy war. Like that's where it goes off the boil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude.
Absolutely
crazy
incredible.
things.
Like we're all blown away by the film and from the documentary, and it's just Like your life is just insane. But like I said, we relate to it from the similar sort of era, and like it all makes sense. If we had that opportunity, that money would have gone extreme as well. What was the maddest thing you? I know it wasn't really about the money for you; it was more about the creativity. But was there anything that you bought that was just ridiculous, stupid?
No, it wasn't, because I'd already come from a life of like my dad kind of like made a lot of money and lost it all, and so it kind of like I always had like anxiety with money, but like so and to the point where like I kind of just didn't know how to respect money because I didn't know how to have it, you know. And so I think the things that was the kind of the stupidest, the dumbest way to be with money was that we would wake up the next morning and throw our receipts, you know, because we get given receipts, you know, like you wouldn't just tap your phone. Every round you buy, you get this big receipt. And so we throw our receipts on the table the next day and then see who bought the most expensive round. And then looking at rounds of like 400 quid, you know, like you're in the bar and you're just buying everyone and you're buying the bar out. And like, that was the dumbest stuff, you know, because
that's like 6 pints these days.
Yeah, no, that's like, yeah, one night out.
I was going to
one
say,
round.
a pint would have been £2 back then, so 400 quid. That's like £5,000.
Oh, especially at some nights we're in the Crowbar where you can get where it was like half.
Oh, mate, Tottenham Court Road.
Yeah, Tottenham Court Road. So you know, like you got like two for one, and you got like Bullet and Cokes for two. We used to like build these massive mountains, or like kind of crystal glass mountains of Bullet and Cokes.
Yeah. The Crowbar is so good that closed down just in lockdown. I went there all the way up to 2020, all the time. And yeah, you get it was always a beer and a chaser. You always got Bullet bourbon and a beer. It was cheaper than buying a beer on its own for some reason.
Yeah, it was an amazing place. So yeah, but no, I never bought anything crazy really. You know, I was still.
It was more
didn't even learn to drive, you know, like just was always touring, so was always driven places, still just got everywhere on a skateboard. Yeah, a little bit low maintenance.
Humble beginnings though, man. I think that's kept you grounded, dude. Do you know what I mean? I think that's given you such kind of levity and balance in your kind of crazy, you know, turbulence that you've had to go through. But I think that's made you so much kind of stronger for it.
And this film would have been. Oh, sorry, dude.
I was going to say, it still would have been good if I'd like put money down on a house or something. If I had done something responsibility, you're
in your 20s. Responsibility is not a word that you use for people in your 20s. Yeah. So many things I wish I'd done in my 20s and like just never happened.
We're all playing catch up. Yeah.
But I wouldn't like yourself. I don't think I'd trade those mishaps. And the 20s are the bit where you can be an idiot and get away with being an idiot. And I look back on my 20s like my favorite. It's my most idiotic part of my life, but it's the most fun time where you had the most fun and no responsibilities. So I wouldn't have traded that for being sensible.
Yeah, and in some weird way, although you don't know it at the time, now this is obviously just a kind of a wacky rationale, but like it was an investment into your future, right? It's like, for me as an artist, I don't have like we don't have like you know, a backup plan or a kind of pension. You know what I mean? There's no such thing as that. Like, so, you know, you're investing in having the time of your life and hoping that having the time of your life, something good happens, you know? And I think that good thing was, you know, conquering the fear of, when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a writer, but I just thought to myself, you know, and I think everyone thinks this about their life, is like, yeah, but I don't have a good story to tell. And then it wasn't until I'd come clean on stage, and you're too in it, you can't see what this is. And then Dan Miller, who's a good friend of mine, one guy I kind of grew to love at the record company, he came up to me and he was like, dude, this is the greatest story in music. Like, you've got to fucking write this. And I just like, oh my God, it could be a good story. And then I started writing the next day, and that, just getting that down, my life changed, you know, oh man, unrecognizably it was hard, and it took so much. Again, had to go in and fight and fight and fight. Had to write a chapter, get a book deal. Fight, fight, fight. As soon as you get I ended up getting a really good book deal because I got a lot of tips from Irvin Welsh in the Crowbar. Took Irvin Welsh to the Crowbar, and he gave me all these things, and I had these notes written on all sorts of shit, like really bad toilet paper and stuff. And it was all stuff that he told me, and I did everything he told me, and I managed to get a really good book deal. But then with a good book deal on the biggest publisher in the world, they just wanted to do everything. They wanted to do it all. So you had to fight and fight, say, no, fuck you, I'm going to write this story, And God, I'm so happy that I fought, man. I'm so happy that I didn't just like walk away or take money, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this. And
so are we, man. It would have been a crime if the world didn't hear the story. This film is phenomenal, but the story itself is like you say, it's not just the wildness, it's the heart, and it's just a reminder of what everyone was like in their youth, but with opportunities, incredible. Gives me goosebumps thinking of it, because it was such a great film, honestly. And
a trippy thing to do is think of a time when you were younger where you just did some stupid shit and it could have gone so wrong. Like, think
Quite
about
easy
that. Like
reel them off.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that big moment was I almost robbed a Securicorp van because I was so desperate to make money to record a record. Instead of thinking like, but Gav, you're like really good at graphic design, or you're like, you could do loads of things. You're really capable. I just got obsessed because I was so broke and I needed money to pay bills and I needed to get in the studio to record, and so like kind of tunnel visioned. And then I saw this guy walking around, and I started to watch him every day coming out of the Royal Bank of Scotland in Dundee Centre. And I just see him carrying these cases. So I started to log down all the time he went in. I got so obsessive with it, and then eventually one day I was going to go walk up behind him, grab the case and run. And then a friend was going to pick me up on the corner. And I go through with it. I get to the day, I'm sitting there, I'm counting it down, and he comes out. I start walking behind him. The whole time I'm thinking, you are nuts, man. Like, what's wrong with you? Don't do this. Don't do this, And then I look down at one of his hands, and the case is handcuffed to him. Yeah. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, now turn around. This is your chance to get out of it. Get out of it now. And I just can't. I'm just still following. I'm thinking like, wait, I'll walk slowly behind him, wait for him to unlock and then I'll... And in my backpack, I had nunchucks. I was going to hit him with nunchucks on the legs so not to hurt him. It's like stupid stuff. And anyway, I get close enough, and a friend comes up, grabs me because he knew I was going to do it, and he was waiting, thinking, "You're not going to go through with this." And he grabs me last minute and stops me from doing it. And so, little moments like that where you think, "Wow, this could have gone so wrong," and those are the moments that I'm like, so thankful for. Is like, every now and then someone did me an incredible solid that just helped keep me on the right path. And
mate, that's mad.
Guardian angels, man. But that's also a great intro for another film, though, or a script like that. Genius.
There you go.
A guy's so desperate to make his music, get rich or try stealing. It's kind of like.
You're the executive producer. You've just become the executive producer of that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. No, Gav, thank you so much for coming on, man. We better let you go because we've taken up tons and tons of your time. But
no worries.
I genuinely really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for messaging me on Instagram, because that was my genuine thoughts on the film. And then you were like, thanks. I was like, holy shit, you've messaged me. It's like, I've got to say, if you're up for joining us, and you're very gracious to get involved. So we really appreciate that, man.
And it's very cool that you were saying, members of your family were a part of the club Faces or ran Faces.
Yeah,
that club is so legendary in Motherwell. Anyone, it's like a kind of rites of passage is, you get a fake ID and you sneak into Faces. That's what that was the thing to do as a youth in Motherwell. So anyone from Motherwell will 100%, if they hear this, would be like, oh yeah, Faces, God, Faces.
Yeah, I used to run around there when I was a kid, and we upstairs. I don't know if you probably don't know what upstairs is, but because there was saunas, there was all sorts of stuff. There was a dojo. Me and my cousin used to fight up there, and I used to collect, like yourself, like nunchucks and martial art weapons. And we used to go up in the dojo and beat the crap out of each other. And yeah, that place was amazing. They lived above it. You know, they had apartments above it, so they owned the whole building.
Yes, I had a cousin, Beth, who lives in the apartments above it.
Yeah. So it was awesome. And then when I got older, I managed to go there just before it kind of all went away. But yeah. I know it was quite famous when you said you're from Motherwell. I was like, have you been? How random. Yeah. Oh, amazing. We'll probably get this episode out. We normally like do it a month in advance, but we'll probably get this episode a little bit earlier as well. So yeah, I'll tag you in some stuff and feel free to share, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Just let me know when it's coming, and I'll push it out there as well.
Nice one. Amazing. All right.
Yeah, it was to have you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Yeah, I'm super glad that you enjoyed the film and it kind of resonated with you guys as well. It's like, yeah, we're going to have to do another one of these. I'm going to have to give you the homework of read the book and then get me on again. And then we'll critique what they got, man. You know.
Let's do it. And then the stage play.
I was going to say, in fact, whereabouts are you in London, roughly? What area?
In Southgate.
Oh, no way. I used to live...
Let's not give out this on the podcast.
It's quite a big area. That's quite a big area. I used to live near Southgate. I used to live in Upper Edmonton.
Oh yeah.
So
not far.
I spent a lot of time like going to Winchmore Hill and stuff like that. But I used to work in Muswell Hill, Crouch End, those sort of areas. Wow. But we're all going down to London. I don't live there now, but we're going to London beginning of July on a random Thursday just for a few beers and to hang out with a few other guests and stuff that have been on. So I'll let you know if you're free. Come join us, hang out for a couple of drinks.
Absolutely. Sounds like a laugh.
Nice one. Brilliant. Well, we'll leave you to it. Good night, man. See you later.
Legend.
Bye.
Yeah.
This has been Rage Whale. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you had a whale of a time.
Thank you all for your continued support, and please do check out our other fun episodes with many great and interesting guests. And just to let you know, we're also on YouTube if you want to also watch us. But do give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok, and we'd love a cheeky 5-star rating on here if you had a moment. And if you do want to support us further, we do have merch. The links are here and on our socials. It's ragewhale.tmill.com. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.